Hello and welcome to our latest podcast. We are here today with Richard Thompson, who is the facilitator and trainer at Byrne Dean. Hi Richard.
Hi Claire, how are you?
Very well. And we're just going to be chatting with 5 questions on all sorts of things, from social media to how to let go of our smartphones in the workplace. So yeah, let's go. So you've had a varied career, from being an intelligence officer in the RAF to managing a home decoration store in Paris to being an employment lawyer before joining the training team at Byrne Dean. Do your past experiences give you a unique insight when it comes to helping organisations create a kinder, fairer, more productive workplace?
I think the simple answer is yes. Listening to you say the question there, it makes me sound like a bit of a workplace nomad. But having worked in lots of different types of environments does give me a unique insight into the sorts of issues that can arise in a workplace, the people problems that you often see. Clearly, my key experience is my time as an employment lawyer. So I was in private practice for 10 years and I saw lots of things. I had lots of complaints that I was dealing with, and helping clients or individuals manage those complaints, I think, was a very helpful experience to understand how and why problems develop. And it's quite an interesting dynamic when you think about it. How does someone reach a point where they're prepared to sue their employer? They're that unhappy that they're prepared to take the step to litigate against their employer, because it's a big step to take. So having that understanding of how and why, I think, really does help put into context how we, as an organisation now at Byrne Dean, can help other businesses to create the kind of fairer, more productive workplaces. During my time as well, having worked in different sectors, I have also experienced, seen, witnessed firsthand some tricky workplace situations, personality clashes, difficult decisions having to be made by management and so forth. So I've got a very good understanding of workplace problems. It's what I love working around. It's what I sort of live and breathe. But when I step back, when I take a big step back, the thing that I really take away from my experience and place into my work with Byrne Dean is the fact that it's all about human interaction. It's all about, if we take away targets, if we take away processes, if we take away policies, the workplace ultimately is about human interaction, how we engage with each other. And that is something that everybody can resonate with. We all come to work wanting to do a good job, but we can only do that if we feel comfortable in our environment. The environment is created through human interaction. So when I step back, how and why problems arise, it's all about people, and that's what keeps it interesting as well, of course.
So what do you enjoy the most about your work at Byrne Dean?
I mean, of course, I would say it, but I think it very much comes back to our motto of helping businesses to create kinder, fairer, more productive workplaces. As I said, work is really important to us. We live in a society that is still quite status-driven. Work is a big part of the status symbol, I suppose. And when we come to work, we do want to do well. We want to thrive. We need that environment that is conducive to us being able to do that. So when I take that thought, this golden thread of our work, if you like, of really helping organisations to create the best possible work environment for people, and then I contrast that to my experience, as a practicing lawyer, I was involved too late. I always think of it as the old Acme cartoons, when the bomb with the big fuse has been lit. Well, by the time the problem came to me, the bomb had gone off.
Yeah.
And what I really enjoy about working for Byrne Dean is that the people we're engaging with, managers, HR people, leadership in businesses, we're getting involved at a really early stage, often very proactively. There's no issue at hand, but we're engaging people in interesting conversations, getting them to think about provoking ideas, just to help them understand and look at this idea of workplace culture, workplace environment slightly differently, and not just to view it as a sort of HR topic, because it's much more pervasive than that. It all comes down to getting the best out of your people, making them feel good, making them feel comfortable and engaged. So because I'm having those conversations at the right stage, at the right time with key people within organisations, I really feel like I can make a difference. Also, as I said, it comes down to the engagement, the interaction. It's all about human interactions. I consider myself a bit of a people person. I like talking to people. I like meeting new people. So it is a great way to do that and spread the joy.
Does sound very satisfying, actually.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it very much.
You've been using Passle for almost exactly a year now, creating over 30 posts in the process. Where do you find your inspiration?
I think for me it's quite easy actually to find inspiration and look for things to talk about. I've said it several times, the work we do, it's all about people. And as human beings, we're very unpredictable beasts. We do things, we say things, often unintentionally, that create problems. And people talk to me all the time during the sessions that I facilitate, or just in the meetings that I have, about the sorts of challenges they face, about the people problems, relationships, disputes, personality clashes, all the really common things that happen in a workplace, but can actually be quite tricky to manage on a day-to-day basis. So, all I have to do is look around, look at the conversations I have with people, looking at the sorts of cases that come out, employment tribunal cases. It's a fairly constant cycle of things that go on. So it's very easy to get inspiration for our Passle posts. But what we do try to look for is how to take those sorts of problems, challenges that people face, and put them into some practical guidance. How can people actually think about this in a realistic day-to-day context? A lot of managers, I think, worry about employment law and see it as they see it as quite a procedural thing, a tick box exercise. And what we want people to think about is that employment law is important, but it's the context, it's the backdrop. Actually, it's the day-to-day interaction, as I've talked about. It's how you engage with the people, what you say, how you say it, what you do, how you do it. That's the important bit. So that's what we try to do, draw our inspiration from the people problems that we see around us every single day, the sorts of things that people can resonate with, but put them into a context that is realistic for people to help manage and give guidance.
Do you find that also, because you are creating this content all the time, that you are almost alert to these ideas a lot more with habit? Or
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, it's something that we live and breathe at Byrne Dean. It's workplace, it's people, it's interaction, it's engagement. So we are, I suppose, sensitive isn't perhaps the right word, but we're looking out for it. You see it, and it's really interesting. Just walking down the street, you will often hear people having a conversation. Sounds like I'm a real snoop now, doesn't it? But but you hear these snippets of conversation about stuff that's going on at work. Oh, my manager said this, or I can't believe they've made that decision. It's everywhere, and I suppose because I deal with it on a day-to-day basis, your ear picks up at things like that.
Tune to
but
it, yes.
There is so much inspiration, and it's an endlessly fascinating topic because it's about human beings.
In your recent post, We Must Connect More at Work, you talk about the challenges of communication in the workplace when smartphones dominate. Do you have a favourite tip for getting colleagues to communicate better offline?
Yes, I think I'm probably going to start to show my age in my answer here. It's a bit of a bugbear of mine. I suppose where that article came from, the inspiration and origin of that was I was sitting in a coffee shop one day looking out the window in central London and just noticing how many people were walking past heads down, even groups of people. Instead of engaging in conversation with one another, they were all staring at their smartphones. And I've noticed a trend in sessions that I run as well, that when I have a break, instead of talking to each other and introducing one another and making connections inside an organisation, people instantly reach for their smartphone. So I've thought lots about this, and of course there's a lot of benefits. Smartphones are amazing pieces of kit, great technology. It's about finding the moment when to use that technology to its advantage, but having the emotional intelligence to understand when a phone, a tablet, a laptop is just not necessary. And the simplest tip, it sounds so obvious, but it really is out of sight, out of mind. If you are having a one-to-one meeting with someone, or you want to catch up with a colleague that you haven't had a good conversation with for a while, whether it's to talk about a specific project or it's just having a nice chat, those kind of moments, we don't need a smartphone. We don't need any technology. That is about the human interaction. So it's understanding there are times when it absolutely does add value, but knowing when I just don't need it. And if you don't need it, put it away. Switch it off or switch it on to silent, put it in your drawer, put it in a bag, out of sight, out of mind. It sounds so simple, but of course it's all very addictive.
So attached to them, aren't we?
We are. It's a bit of a mission of mine to convince people that sometimes we're better off without.
Excellent. Okay, so having talked about the benefits of going offline, let's talk about online now. Do you have a favourite social media network and why?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I thought quite a lot about this. I mean, I think what was interesting for me is prior to using Passle, I didn't really use much in the way of social media, particularly not for work. I had a personal Facebook profile, but didn't use Twitter. LinkedIn was sort of very, sporadic use. But since having Passle, my firm favourite is definitely Twitter. I know lots of people say it, but I love the fact you have to be so succinct. 140 characters, that's all you're allowed. It forces you to really craft your message very carefully. And I think the process of doing that helps me certainly to think about, well, what am I trying to say? What do I want to put out there in the world? There is so much on Twitter. There's a lot of noise that you've got to make sure that what you put is good. You've only got 140 characters to do it, so it's quick, it's simple, but it really forces you to spend some time thinking carefully about your message. So I love it for that, and I think it works brilliantly with Passle in terms of forwarding on the Passle posts and spreading the news that way. It's a really helpful tool. So that's definitely my preferred choice.
Totally agree with you. I think there's something about working with restrictions that kind of frees up more creativity as well, doesn't it?
It does, and at Byrne Dean, the nature of what we do, we go and talk to people. We like talking, and sometimes that has been a disadvantage to us because there are so many ways to talk about what we do and how we do it, and our increased use of Twitter has really helped us to focus that and think about, well, how do we really carefully craft our key messages? And that's actually how our kinder, fairer, more productive workplaces motto came about, to think about really succinct, clear way to help people understand what we aim to achieve.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Richard, for talking with me
Thank you, Claire.
today.
Thanks very much.